Caravan was still hanging out. Marjo and I are sleeping in the bed. Place is kind of a mess, but I'll get over it, I'm sure. Those people like to make themselves at home. Come on in and use our table. Somebody sent us some coffee about that time. Fell right out of the sky. And things are generally going alright. Marjo was hell-bent on getting that research done. I chopped down some trees. Tried to stay focused on the mining I'd been doing. Marjo decided to take a walk around. See what was going on out and about. I mined for a bit. Dragged it all back as best as I could. Decided maybe I'd get to the business of making a bunch of food. I was planning on hitting the road, do some trading, spend some of this money. Just had to tie up a few loose ends around here. Rice had to be dealt with. Well, it was about that time we got a call. Some prisoner being held nearby. Wasn't a whole lot we could do about it though. We decided to keep going about our business. Solar flare started not long after that. Cut out all of our power for a while. I was hoping none of the meat would spoil. None of the animals I had laying around. Marjo was putting stuff away. Was taking care of stuff since she couldn't do any research. I got out, did a little mining. Or dragging in what I could. We were both laying in bed. Not too long after that. Crazy storm was passing. Rain and thunder. Marjo couldn't sleep. She got up and did some research. The person we'd rescued felt well enough to get on their way. That was a good thing. I'm sure they'd be happy with that. I was using the telescope. Marjo was busy shearing the animals, making sure they stayed in good shape. We decided to shrink down the rice zone a bit. We were ending up with way too much. Marjo was researching. I was busy making food. About that time, Boomalope nearby went nuts. And we decided that was something we probably shouldn't ignore. The way those darn things explode when they die could end up bad for us. Marjo ran inside. I decided to shoot the thing up. Fortunately, it was raining. I wasn't too worried about a big fire. It was coming at me. I kept shooting, hoping I could take the thing out. And I did end up dropping it. Didn't die though, so I decided to put it out of its misery. With the rain going on, could probably butcher it up, get some meat from it. So I kept shooting. Our animals decided to keep walking by it, just in case it exploded or something. Eventually I got it done. Created a bit of a fire, but not too bad. I stamped all the fires out. Decided to let the thing lay for now. Didn't really have anywhere to put it that made sense. So I went off to bed. And I could butcher it in the morning. At least that'd be my plan. I fell right to sleep. Marjo, she was already sleeping well. I was wet, but otherwise didn't have much to complain about. Marjo got up, did some repairs to the door when that Boomalope had exploded. She was trying to figure out fabrication, how to make real detailed things. Like a fancy new eye for me, she claimed, but I'd believe that when I saw it. We chilled out, had a meal together, just chatted for a while, enjoying each other's company. And then she had to deal with the muffalo. I just kept on sitting for a while. Decided to butcher up that Boomalope, make a bunch of meals. Another storm was coming through. This time just a bunch of lightning, no real rain to go with it. I'm sure we'd get some crazy wildfires here. Marjo was running around chasing after the muffalo, trying to keep him tame. About that time the flash storm ended. It was a huge fire raging. Covered a big area around us. Fortunately, if there were any of those mushroom fungus things left out there, they would have all burnt up. Marjo went to bed and I did a little mining before I decided to head off to carried in what steel I could. Marjo woke up. She did some cleaning. That's about the time I finally laid down. The fire was raging like crazy, but we were behind these stone walls, so we weren't too concerned with it. I was thinking about getting out and about. I wanted to make sure Marjo had a fair amount of meals left. Didn't want her running out of food when I was gone. She wasn't what you'd call a good cook by any means. I was chilling out resting. Marjo was working with the animals. Just another morning around here. And then I decided it's high time I got on my way. Decided to leave the alpacas. I was going to take food. Anything I could sell, really. We had all kinds of stuff around here. I was going to bring all the silver as well. Seemed like it'd be a good plan. Spend some of this money on something useful. I was going to go south this time. See what's going on down there. So I packed everything up and off I went. Said bye to Marjo. Told her to take care of herself. I'd be back as soon as I could. Shouldn't be too terribly long. And I hit the road. Marjo researched, then went off to bed. And I slept in my bedroll. Snuggled up against the muffalo, trying to stay warm. Seemed to work out pretty well. Marjo stayed focused on the research. Some of them crazy aliens showed up. She was still running around with the Molotov cocktail. She decided to equip that spear rifle thing. Fortunately, the aliens ran on in, died on the traps we'd had set up. She had to shoot one of them a bit. She didn't want to go near it, risk getting burned by the acid blood. That didn't take her long. She had the problem solved. She was a little worried, running out of steel. This kind of thing kept up. Wouldn't take long. I was making good progress towards my destination. Marjo decided to get back to work, rebuilding those traps. I was feeling pretty inspired on the road. It's nice to be out and about, but I'm sure it wouldn't last. Cold snap came through about that time. Fortunately, I hadn't bothered to plant any plants before I left. Marjo was tossing horseshoes, chilling out. I could picture it in my head. She decided to do a bunch of cleaning too. All around our place was a disgusting mess. She wanted the place to be nice for when I got back. When she finally woke up, she got to the business of cleaning everything else up as well. I was still walking along, spending my time on the road. Found myself talking to the muffalo once in a while, which is a little weird. Marjo got the traps rebuilt, keep the place secure. The walls got pretty damaged as well, so she was working on repairing those. But she got it all done. And I was making great progress. When she was all done with that, she got back to research. I made it to the first place, Camaraderie's Prairie. Sold all kinds of stuff. Material for making clothes. Ended up buying a TV. Bought some bionics as well. Decided to head on over. Next settlement. There's some tribals around as well, but they didn't usually carry the kind of stuff I wanted to buy. It was the middle of the night. We were both sleeping once again. Marjo decided to do some cleaning when she got up, and then she just chilled out for a while. I was starting to get homesick already. It had been a handful of days. She stayed focused on her research, and she was making good progress. I was trotting on down the road. Transport pod crashed nearby. Some fella named Igor. Marjo decided to rescue him. She said it seemed like the right thing to do. I'd bought her a cat while I was at one of them settlements doing some trading. She liked those last cats we had, so hopefully that'd cheer her up a bit too. Although it doesn't seem like cats last too long around here, in all honesty. You gotta trap them inside or something if you don't want them to die. I decided to stop at one of these tribal villages, since I was walking through anyway. Purple Ridge is what they called it. That's where I got the cat. They didn't have much else. I was going to be real close to that item stash, resurrection serum. I was debating on stopping by there, see if I could claim that for myself. It was defended, but couldn't be that well defended. I was feeling pretty recreation deprived. Sure could use some fun. About that time, I got ambushed. Manhunter cat decided was going to try and kill me or something. Didn't stand much of a chance against my assault rifle, though. Sadly, I took it out. Had I downed it, I probably would have tried to rescue it. And that was that. Not much of a threat, in all honesty. But there you have it. I kept on walking. Marjo kept on researching. It had been snowing back home. She was trying to use the telescope in a snowstorm. I picked up a big widescreen TV. That was going to be a surprise for her. We'd been talking about rebuilding our bedroom out of stone instead of wood. Should have fire start when I was gone. Marjo be in bad shape since she didn't know how to react to fires. She always just panicked and ignored it. Which is weird in my opinion, but everybody's got their quirks. She was taking care of that guy Igor, staying focused on her research. I finally made it over to Talantis. Marjo got a message, somebody being chased, wanted help, but she told them no. Those people at Talantis didn't have a single thing, nor did they have any money. I don't know what was going on with that. Turns out they didn't like me very much, apparently. They wanted me to give them stuff. I debated it. Maybe I'd stop by again after I was done seeing if I could claim that item stash. And when I showed up there, I sent the animals off. I ran on up with my rifle. There was 4 people hanging out. Bunch of bows. Didn't seem like too much of a threat. I was going to have to see if I could scare them off. I shot one of them up a bit. They still didn't really know I was there. They didn't want to get entangled with me. They were all going inside to hide. I kept on shooting though. And they eventually figured it out. They were under attack. So I kept shooting the closest guy. He took cover behind a tree and his buddies came running out. I shot him up good and down he went. Decided to focus on the other guy that I'd clipped before. One of them hit me in the arm with an arrow. Right up at the top near the shoulder. I kept shooting that fella. And it didn't take too long before I got him. Got him real good too. He died on the spot. His buddy was still alive. I didn't have any love for him though. And the other guys were running away. Made the mistake of trying to run right by me. So I decided to give them some business too. was shooting away best I could. Dropped one of them. They all had some food on them, so that was going to be useful. See what I could claim around here. Last fella made it away. Wasn't able to get him. And that dude I downed, the second one, he had some life left in him. I didn't feel much like helping him out though. Those guys certainly could have done me in had they had half a brain. So I went and did some exploring on what they had around here. Decided to let the animals know it was safe to wander about. Even if one of these guys stood up, they wouldn't be much of a threat. These guys had a whole bunch of bedrolls, 15 of them. I don't know if they're expecting company or what. And I found what I'd come here for. Nice resurrection serum. Sounds like one of us should die. That thing will bring us right back to life. So that was pretty awesome. Decided I was gonna build a horseshoe pin. Try and have some recreation. Some drugs fell out of the sky back home. Marjo was researching away. She'd have to run out and grab those when she could. I ate some of the pemmican those dudes had dropped. Decided to bring it inside. And there was a decent amount of it. I'm sure the cat and the muffalo would eat a bunch of it, but oh well. I was going to deconstruct everything I could. See what kind of steel I could haul out of here. Since we're always short on it, it wouldn't hurt to grab what I could. And I decided to build that horseshoe pin. Give me something to do, have a little bit of fun before I left. They had sandbags and walls and floors and all kinds of stuff around. I took stuff apart and then I decided to toss them horseshoes, have a little bit of fun. It's pretty stinking cold, but I'd certainly seen worse. Decided to uninstall all them bedrolls too. I could probably sell those off to somebody. Alright, Marjo's taking care of Igor. About that time, the crazy robot showed up. Tried to attack Marjo. Fortunately, she had all the traps up though, so she didn't think it was too much of a threat. And in all honesty, it wasn't. It would get us some nice material though. Thing took out 3 traps, but it went down. I got all the floors taken out. Decided to do the same on the inside of the place. And then I was going to get on out of there. Marjo had to rebuild some traps, since that robot had destroyed a bunch of them. She was going to try her hand at taking it apart as well. While she was building the trap, power went out. This crazy alien showed up again. I had my hands full taking that floor apart. So she finished what she was working on just in the nick of time. One of them aliens went down in the traps. The other started bashing on the door she'd been working on. And then it got itself killed on the traps as well. First one that had gone down didn't quite die, so she was going to have to kill it with the gun, rather than risk getting burnt up by its acid blood once again. So she went and shot it up. And she nailed it on the second try. I was still tossing horseshoes, just enjoying having a little fun. And then I finished ripping up the last of the floors and it was time to get on out of there. Marjo had traps to rebuild, all kinds of stuff to work on. While I packed up to leave, I grabbed everything that was worth something, and then as much as the steel as I could carry. And that was that. I was happy to have acquired some bionics. Pretty excited, in fact. Make myself into the bionic man. Baby alpaca got the flu around that time. Marjo knew how to deal with that. was headed back to that last city I'd visited. See if they changed their mind about being friendly with me. Marjo was in bed. Most of the traps were back up. I was using the bedroll. Igor got up that time. Decided to head on out. And good for him. Marjo had done a good thing there. She continued working on the traps. We got another prisoner called up saying they need rescuing. Once again, there wasn't much we could do for them. People at that settlement didn't want nothing to do with me, so I decided to carry on. I thought about where I should head next. In the end, I was going to go back to Gray Cave once again. I've been there a few times. They're good people. And maybe I could get rid of these bedrolls over there. Bunch of beans had fallen out of the sky back home. Marjo was on top of that. I had a long walk here. More than a couple days at least. Marjo got sick when I was gone. Come down with malaria. We had that super fancy medicine though. She was well capable of taking care of herself. She had her hands full with a couple alpacas there. Keeping the place nice and sturdy, given all the aliens trying to get in there and destroy the place. She was focusing on research. I'd taken some time off, trying to take that alien apart. She was hell-bent on figuring out how those things worked, given how much time she spent researching. A mad rat was running around. She chose to ignore it though. Wouldn't be long before it went down to a trap, I'm sure. And I was still walking. Next day, Marjo was tossing horseshoes. She was ill with the malaria. It was a random alien that showed up. Sometimes they infect a local critter. Come out of nowhere on you. You gotta be careful if you're out and about. One of those things gets a hold of you, it's not gonna be pretty. So she was on top of rebuilding traps in my absence. And staying on top of the research as well. She figured out how to get the fabrication stuff done. Started thinking about where to go with the bionics finally. Some of them big crazy thrombos were visiting as well. Once again, they were just gonna get ignored. She had to frequently tend herself. And she was starting to run a little short on meals since she'd taken care of so many sick people. I met some people on the road, but they didn't have much. I bought some beers off them. Seemed like a good thing to bring with. Some fella came up, demanded that I give him a bunch of stuff, else he was gonna kill me. But it turns out I had the upper hand there, given my weaponry and experience, so I told him to bring it. And that's what he did. It didn't take too long before I properly gave him the business. It was cold as all get out. He was rushing at me pretty good. The guy wasn't even armed, man. I don't know what his deal was. I feel like a jerk for shooting him up like I did. He must have been crazy or something. He got close to me once, took a swing, but I managed to dodge considering how bad I'd shot him up already. I had to steer him away from my muffalo. Didn't need him starting to attack them. I might accidentally shoot one of them if he got near him. And sure enough, I shot that poor guy dead. I don't know what the dumb bastard's problem was, but I guess I'm never gonna know at this point. So I carried on. Marjo decided she needed more steel. She was running low, couldn't rebuild the traps, couldn't build the fabrication bench she wanted to make. So she started gathering up slag and smelting it down. She's doing pretty well, getting over that malaria. And once she smelted enough steel, she got to the business of building that fabrication bench. Wasn't going to be a lot of use right away. But once she figured out how to make bionics, she was convinced she could make me a new eye on there. That was one of the few bionics I couldn't find. Some other fella came up, once again, trying to assault me on the road. He saw a lone guy walking with a bunch of animals and a ton of gear. Got a little greedy. This guy at least had a gun though. He came charging at me. I outranged him pretty well, but he was shucking and jiving pretty good, so I missed him at first. He caught me once, right in the arm, but I killed him right after that. I don't know why these people seem to have a death wish, man. He had a bunch of drugs on him, so kind of makes sense, I guess, but still seems like a waste of life. Another person had fallen out of the sky back home. Someone named Hawk, apparently. Once again, drug addict. But Marjo decided to rescue him nonetheless. It's the human thing to do. We had totally given up on that assassination thing. That doesn't seem like our style. A bunch of meals fell out of the sky back home as well. And that was fortuitous, since Marjo was right in the middle of rescuing another mouth to feed. She got Hawk put in bed and tended up, and she was off to bed. She swore up and down there was some crazy buzzing in her ear for a good chunk of the time I was gone. I told her, yeah, that's happened to me a few times as well. Just gotta muscle through. Hawk got infected. Marjo decided to use some medicine on her lest she die. And I think it was the right move overall. She should pull through just fine. Kept her fed and tended. And then she grabbed those meals. I was still just over a day away from where I was headed to. And Marjo was still working on getting some slag smelted down so she had some extra steel in case she needed to rebuild some traps. She got tended. Somebody called her about something, but she hung up on him right away. She said she felt overwhelmed. Those fine meals that came out of the sky turned out to be pretty useful. After she smelted all the steel, Marjo gathered up a bunch of rocks, started breaking those down into nice blocks we could use, rebuilding our bedroom into stone instead of wood, in case there was a fire in my absence. I got to Gray Cave, did a little bit of trading. Nothing major though. Was gonna head on to the next settlement. Maybe they'd buy them bedrolls. Gray Cave wasn't interested in them. And Marjo chilled out. I made it over to Green Toxos. Did a little bit of trading there. Really just bought some more components. And I was thinking about heading home. They hadn't been interested in them bedrolls though. I didn't really want to fill up our storage area with them. So in the end, I was probably going to march on past again. Head on up to our nearest neighbors. And that's what I decided to do. No sense in bringing 15 bedrolls home. And maybe I could find some more good bionics. Although we'd be able to make those ourselves real soon, if I was to trust in Marjo's opinion on it. She spent her time researching, taking care of the animals, using the telescope. She healed up that woman that fell out of the sky, And that woman got up and took off. They said their goodbyes in the night. Marjo got back to the business of making more steel. I kept on marching down the road. And I made it over to Planetologist Cactus. Sure enough, they were happy to see all them bedrolls. So I passed them right along. Made about $500 on that deal too. That was pretty sweet. I had some other stuff to sell as well. That gun that fella had left me. Oh, that guy tried to attack me. After that, finally time to get back home to Marjo. I was excited as a guy could be. Marjo said a very pleasant feeling just settled over her. And stayed. She was sleeping in the night. Some of them aliens decided to show up again. See if they could kill her. Big one with one of them little crazy ones. The big one ran up, died on some traps, but the little one went and attacked the wolf. No doubt trying to implant one of them crazy little things into it. Marjo had to get herself up out of bed. The big alien was dead already. So she ran on over to where that crazy little face-hugging thing was attacking a wolf. Started trying to shoot it up. I met some people on the road at that point. Talking about doing some trading. In the end, I decided to move on. Marjo wasn't the best shot, in all honesty. She's trying to take that wolf out, or that critter that was attacking it. She had to get uncomfortably close. It didn't take long before the wolf expired, but the creature attacking it did not. And that creature gave up at one point after Marjo shot at it for the better part of a day. When the wolf died, that thing came charging at her and she tried to get away. Turns out, though, it was a ton faster than her. And that darn gun is so slow. She ended up having to beat the thing with the gun. Hope to God it didn't attach to her face. So she was beating it with a gun. Finally it died. She got a bit beat up herself, though. And she was just starving. She decided to have a meal. After that, she hauled some of the steel slag that was sitting over their back. Man, she's a real trooper, I'll tell you that. She had a trap to rebuild and some walls to repair. But for the minute, she was off to bed. After tending herself. I think it beat her up a little bit, but not too bad. I was getting super close to being home, picking up the pace since I was really eager to be there. And finally, I made it back. Buffalo were packed down with gear real well, but I just went charging in. Decided it was time to say hi. I miss my girl and all that. A bunch of paper fell out of the sky. For whatever that's worth, we decided to gather it up. I've been so deprived for fun. I sat and drank 3 things of tea, then just chilled and enjoyed the room, peace and quiet, comfort of my home, which was quite a mess, I might add. Didn't help that the Muffalo were coming through. But it wasn't long before we both got to bed. And despite all the chaos and the mess, sure was nice to be home. Muffalo took themselves right into the storeroom, dumped off their gear, which was rather nice of them. It had been a crazy week, but I think things were going pretty well for the minute. I was looking forward to getting myself a bunch of bionics. Be the next step.